Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fourth Presbyterian Church of Chicago. My name is John Shear. I'm the organist and director of music, and it's such a great pleasure to welcome you to this Friday noontime concert. Today we have with us the Estrella Piano Duo. This concert today is being co-sponsored by the Musicians Club of Women here in Chicago, so a great big thank you to the Musicians Club of Women. Every Friday at 12:10 we present a concert. Next Friday, my good friend Cara Bershad will be here doing a harp recital, and we have Chanticleer with us this coming Tuesday and Wednesday. Many other great Christmas concerts planned, all of which are listed on our website. So I hope you can join us for lots of great music in the future. Please do remain masked today during the concert so we can all stay safe and just enjoy the music as much as possible. And we do greatly appreciate contributions, all of which go to continue this concert series. So again, thank you for being here. And now, join me in welcoming the Estrella Piano Duo.
We're on. Okay. Technology doesn't go well for musicians. It's a thing. But anyways, thank you so much for joining us today. It's such a pleasure to be playing in-person concerts again and to actually see an audience. So we really appreciate you guys being here. If you look at the program, you'll notice a lot of composers whose names you probably have not heard before, even if you're an avid music lover, and that is because many of them are women composers. For now, in the current day and age, of course, being a woman composer is basically being a composer. But these ladies lived in the 19th century, and they fought their way to becoming professionals, to becoming musicians, to becoming composers. And we now, Yelena and I, stand on the shoulders of our sisters. And so we truly appreciate them. We're going to start with music by a French composer, Maurice Ravel. Her story is one of the happy ones as women in music are concerned. She was born a prodigy. Her parents supported her musical education. She married another pianist, a student of Chopin himself, who also supported her career, and she became very well known as a pianist. As a matter of fact, she was the first person of either sex to perform the entire set of Beethoven's sonatas in Paris. That was kind of a big deal. She played in front of Franz Liszt, who said that she has the brain of a scholar and the fingers of an artist. I mean, how nice. So as a scholar, she researched physiology of playing and was a pedagogue. She herself developed tendinitis and then researched the ways to make piano technique more natural and to make positions of the hand more healthy. If you see the positions she puts us into in her pieces for four hands, you see why she got tendinitis in the first place. Aren't these fun? So now we go back about 50 years or so to Felix Mendelssohn, whose musical story was really quite different. The name Mendelssohn is familiar to everybody because of Felix Mendelssohn, the genius composer who started off the romantic period, really, and died very young. Much like Mozart, Felix Mendelssohn had a very gifted older sister, Fanny. They were both being taught music by the same professor, who actually wrote to Goethe saying that he's teaching these really brilliant kids, and he thinks the girl is really the more advanced one and the more genius one of the two. However, at that time, women did not do music as a profession. And her father basically said that your brother may choose to become a musician should he wish to do so, but for you, music must be perfectly ornamental. We don't really know how Fanny reacted to all that and how her life might have turned out had she not died of a stroke at the age of 32, much like her brother. We lost both of them. So Fanny composed. She published some pieces under Felix's name. The pieces the one piece you're going to hear is from a set that she published under her own name. Both of the Mendelssohns played, of course, they played together on the same piano as they were growing up, and both of them wrote a lot of very difficult music for piano for hands. So this is Fanny's contribution. much better. So now we're going back to France, and now we have a composer that everybody knows, of course, Maurice Ravel. He was one of the very, very greats and well recognized during his lifetime, but not all of his projects were necessarily a success. So when he decided he wanted to write a large ballet, he contacted Diaghilev, who was running a Russian ballet company in Paris, this Ballet Russe, the same company that had premiered The Afternoon of a Faun and Petrushka in Rite of Spring and all these other wonderful ballets. And so he was commissioned to write this ballet, La Valse. He wrote it and it was rejected. Diaghilev basically said, you can't dance to this thing. At which point Debussy got a little upset. At some point there were words exchanged, and at some point there was the threat of a duel. But friends cooled them off and pulled them apart. And La Valse has become one of the most incredible masterpieces for orchestra, no dancing. I think when you hear the version for four hands, you might actually agree that it's not danceable. So you heard short, elegant little waltzes. This is nothing like that. So La Valse isn't really about the waltz. It's more about the history of a waltz, or thinking about the waltz, or what the idea of a waltz represents. There is a lot of critical thought about what was in Ravel's mind about this piece, because it says something about 1848, which, if you know your history, was a particularly difficult time in Europe, where there were a lot of revolutions, a lot of upheavals. French government went down. Bad stuff was happening. So there's some thinking that something in this beautiful piece is a portrayal of historical times. Certainly, in the opening, I think most people agree that there's some kind of darkness. Perhaps it's the darkness of a street, or somebody who is cold and hungry looks inside a window where there's a beautifully, gloriously lit up ballroom and gorgeously dressed people are getting ready to dance. Who knows? Until the end of his days, Ravel claimed that there are no political or any kind of connotations to this piece, but we don't believe him. So the next set of pieces are by Cécile Chaminade, who is probably the best known female composer that we have. Until a few years ago, I actually had no idea Chaminade was a woman at all. And in fact, Camille Saint-Saëns, the famous French composer, listened to her stuff and said, well, I couldn't believe women could write stuff like that, which if you think about it is really insulting, but it is what it is. So the group of pieces by Chaminade that you will hear are really very interesting and very attractive and all very different. We're playing two pieces from the set. One is an imitation of a Baroque dance, and one is something called chant Hindu, so a Hindu song, but I don't know what's Hindu about it. It's really fun, though. The story of our next woman composer, Melanie Bonice, is really quite an interesting one. And believe me, I looked it up. I'm not making it up. This is the story as it happened. So she was a prodigy, was accepted into the Paris Conservatory as very young, was doing great. At some point, she fell in love with a fellow student who was a poet, and her parents said, no way. I mean, can you blame them? And they forced her into a marriage with a much older guy who was twice a widower and had 4 children of his own, and who didn't like music. So the marriage was, well, who knows? But in any case, 3 children had ensued. So now we're up to what, 7, right? Okay, so then at some point, our girl Melanie, or Mel, as was her name, under which she published music, because, you know, it sounded questionable enough. Anyways, so at some point, she meets the poet guy, again, her first love, who is also married, mind you, but, I mean, you can see where it's going, and soon there's, you know, child number 8, and who is basically farmed out to, this little girl is farmed out to be raised by somewhere else. Well, some years go by, and now we are we've just finished World War I, and now we are in the middle of an epidemic of the Spanish flu, where there's rather a lot of death going on. And so the foster mother of the little girl passes away, and so Melanie takes her in to live as a foster child of her own. Well, that's great. Her own eldest son comes back from the war and is happy to meet this girl who is living in their house, falls in love with her, and demands to marry her. So at this point, the secret is, you know, over, and everybody has to admit to everybody's parentage. And all we know is that both the girl and the boy eventually married, you know, other people. So we're happy to know that. This is not musical, but so much fun. I mean, people who write soap operas have got nothing on this. So the pieces that she writes are very pleasant to listen to in a sort of light salon romantic style, as you're about to hear. Okay, well, so much for French composers. Now we switch to Russian ones. As you can tell from our names, Yelena and I are both Russian, so this music is very close to our hearts. So the next piece you will hear is, well, not light, romantic, and pleasant at all, but it is a famous dance, all written for the ballet Russe that I've already told you about. This is for Stravinsky's great ballet Petrushka. Petrushka is a puppet, and this is a whole story about a group of puppets that magically come to life, and they suffer, and all kinds of bad stuff happens. It's a terrible story with a horrible, bloody end. I think of it as a Russian version of a happy end, but whatever. The piece that you're about to hear, however, is a Russian dance that happens early enough in the piece where nothing bad is happening, and it's all about fun and energy. Of course, there was a little bit of a scandal at the premiere because, you'll hear how revolutionary and wonderful the music is. We absolutely love it. The version that you will hear for piano for hands was done by Stravinsky himself. This was to be used to help the dancers practice. We've sort of junked it out quite nicely, so it's much more difficult now. But tremendous fun. You will recognize the tune, I hope. So if you would like to hear the other two movements of the suite, and not in this version, but in a much more difficult version, if you can believe it, for two pianos, we recorded it last year. It won all kinds of awards and everything. We have a CD with us. Also featured in the CD is a two-piano version of the next and the last piece that we're going to play. which are selections from Alexander Borodin's opera, Prince Igor, which are best known as Polovetzian dances. You will also recognize the tunes. So the story of the opera is basically, there's an invasion of Mongol and Tatar tribes. Polovetzian tribes is one of those that is invading Russia at the time. They overrun the city-state of our guy, Prince Igor, and he and his son are captured by the Khan of the tribe. So instead of just executing them, they're being kept in honorable captivity, and all the beautiful maidens and the young boys of the tribe are dancing and entertaining them. And as I'm sure you can easily believe, the prince's son falls in love with the daughter of the Khan, and all kinds of complications ensue. So we're playing the first and the fourth of these dances. I promise you will recognize the tune.
Thank you again so much for coming. Oh, this is too tall. As you see, she's much taller. So thank you so much for coming to the concert. And as Svetlana mentioned, we have CDs for sale. It's $15 per CD. We can autograph it. And
We have two different kinds.
two different kinds, Russian music and
Russian music.
and another set of Russian music. And most of it you heard today. Well, some of it, not all. But it's beautiful pieces. So feel free to purchase. Thank you so much.